Great morning. It is Thursday, and this is your Thursday edition of Morning Manna with Pastor K. Get in here. Let's talk. The Lord is my light, salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I be afraid? I know it seems weird, but today we're going to do a part two. Yesterday, as I was doing yesterday's Morning Manna, and I was getting through it, and after I sat and was able to allow it to process, there were so many things that came into my mind that just began that I wanted to share on today. So as you guys come in on today, please share your comments. Thank you very much, Rosa Williams. Great morning to you. Crystal Cross, I miss you so much. How are you doing down there in Flintstoneville? All right, you guys are coming in. All right, many of you are coming in. I have a request. I'm going to throw that out there. Great morning, Geraldine. You were up late burning the midnight oil and up early this morning as well. Great morning to you as well. All right, you guys are coming in. Great morning. Great morning to you as well. All right, I see a lot of you coming in through Facebook, and I do not see your name. So please allow StreamYard to use your comments. All right. I see you, Mama Rosa. I see you there. Great morning to you as well. Sarah Nickelberry, great morning this morning. How you doing, fam? So great to see you this morning. Great morning. Somebody, Facebook user, did not get the message, but we want to say great morning to you as well. All right, as we get going in today's conversation, whom shall I be afraid? All right, I want to talk with you guys on today. On yesterday, we began, I had a conversation with you all about when purpose meets opportunity. And, you know, it was interesting because that conversation, it kind of inspired me on yesterday, and it got me a little stirred up, and it got me thinking. And great morning to you, Clifford Carter. Clifford Carter, Carla Mathis, great morning to both of you all. And as I was, as I was thinking about it, one of the things that came to mind is the story of my life and how things have happened. And it's interesting because people often think that everything in life has to be planned out, and I'm a great proponent. I believe that there are things that we plan for, and that success should be planned for. But it's important for us to understand the role that purpose plays in our lives. And great morning to you this morning, Arvale. Great morning. For those of you who are concerned, and all of you have, so many of you have reached out to me or posted, and I thank you for your prayers. But my younger brother, many of you probably don't even know my brother if you didn't grow up with me or didn't know us, but because we're so different, he is a celebrity of his own status. He's a celebrity social media star, entertainer, musician, and he has a company, King Beard Butter and Body Cream, and he's doing merchandising and all kinds of things. But he is doing so much better. He is now out of ICU. He is on a main floor. He was back to himself. We were talking and joking and all of those great things. So I want to thank all of you guys for your prayers. Donna Shaw, great morning to you as well. Honey Jador, great morning to you as well. So I want to say thank you all for your prayers. They have really been effective, and he has been doing a lot of contemplating as well. But anyway, so I want to say thank you for that. But I thought about just how, we often have these conversations, and I thought about what put me in a place, as a young man from Saginaw, that has grew up in a single parent family, did not grow up rich by any means or on the right side of the tracks, the proverbial right side of the tracks that we talk about. And I began to, ask myself, and I'm so blessed by the things that God has afforded me to do in my lifetime, to be able to, and I've shared, traveled this world and to, meet kings and princes and, Asian countries and just around the world, to be able to go, Michael Bloomberg ran for office, and I've sat in office meetings with Michael Bloomberg and venture capital funds in New York City and, Time Warner deals. It's just crazy how God has really opened up opportunities and blessed me. And my question, most people, I was kind of like Tommy from Martin. People like, what do you do? And I would be like, because most of what I've done has been outside the public eye or outside the city of Saginaw. But those who know me, great morning to you, Christina Castillo, Annie Babers. Great morning to all of you out there. And so people would ask me that question. And, it's interesting because when I look at my life, my entire life has been organized, and I don't believe in a such thing, anything called natural born leaders. And I believe that leaders are developed. And I believe that leaders are equipped with a certain kind of wiring. And so I think that's where the natural born, their purpose to lead. But I think that leaders often also have to go through a process of development. And what I began to notice in my life is that as I sit now and I look back at my life, all throughout my life is an expression of those leaders that I've allowed to mentor me. And so I understand the importance of mentorship. And as I look at my life, those individuals who have found a value in what God has done in my life and have allowed me to mentor them through a process, whether it be ministry or business or whatever it is, community engagement, those individuals have always become most effective. And I began to look at this, and I said, based upon our conversation, when purpose meets opportunity, I want to go back to that. And those of you who didn't see yesterday's, you need to go back and take a look at that, because it was a really interesting message that ministered to me. And I always think it's a good thing when God ministers to the person who's ministering, because then you don't just get a good word, you get revelation, you get rhema. And when you get rhema, you begin to speak from a power and a source that is much greater than you are. And so as I looked at that story, I began to go back, and there were some things in that story, because we were in First Kings, the 17th chapter, that began to step out to me that God wanted to share with those of you who are out there. The first thing that I took note, and if we remember the story, we were talking about David. And David had been anointed king at this point. He was still a shepherd boy. He did not look the part of a king. He did not act the part of a king. He was not hanging around the palace just chilling. Great morning to you this morning, Sharice Steele Phillips. And I'm saying this for a purpose, because many of you don't realize it, but you have been purposed to something greater than where you are. Or maybe you do realize that you have been purposed to something greater than you are. So this will mean even more to you. I looked at how the fact that David had been called out from the field. He was smelling like sheep dung. He was covered probably in sheep wool, and he was out tending to the sheep. And his father did not even recognize the hand or the purpose that God had instilled in his life. We got to remember that the Bible says that before I formed you in your mother's womb, he said that I called and I declared you a prophet unto the nations. So even before your parents had an opportunity to see what you look like, God had already purposed you for something great in your life. And to me, that thought alone, that each of us has been purposed for something great in our life, something that the world has no clue that you're getting ready to do. And it may not look like it from your birthright. David didn't look like it from his birthright. And it may not look like it from where you came from. It may not look like it from how you were raised, and it may not look like it based upon your current situation. David was already purposed to be a king when he was out there taking care of the sheep, which allows me to get to the first thing. If you're ever going to do anything great in God, you've got to get past your thought process of how you're going to get there. Many of you guys are getting ready to throw in the towel. You've kind of given up. Oh, I'm at a certain stage in life. It's never going to happen by now. I'm way past that. No one's going to give me an opportunity. I don't have the resources. I don't have the finances. I need you to understand that when David was chasing sheep, he did not have the resources to be a king either, but he was faithful over the small things. And as I begin to look at my life, I think about all of the things that God made me responsible for. And those who you guys know me that are on here, I was responsible for those things. I took care of what needed to be taken care of in the small stages. When nobody was looking and nobody was listening, I was doing what it was that God had purposed me to do. And I want to encourage and also challenge someone that's out there today. Many times we have an understanding, or God reveals to us that He requires or He desires for us to reach a particular pinnacle in life. And so we began to plan and to set in stone, and we've got to do this and we've got to do this and set up our checklists and make our plans for success. But I need you to realize that much of what your success is in life, a lot of it may be planned, but a lot of it is favor and a lot of it is purposed in your life. And this is what's so interesting about this story. So David was in the field. He was going to take a meal, food, reserves to his brothers and those who were in the front line. When we begin to look at the story, uh, David came with a sack of food and some things that he was giving to his brother. Notice he didn't have armor. He did not have a weapon. And we understand these things because Saul, who was prepared for the battle, because Saul had his armor, he had his shield, he had his sword. He tried to give when David said, I will go in the name of the Lord. See, your purpose will speak to the giant on the inside of you. Many of you have discounted yourself in so many ways. God's checklist is greater than ours. I don't know who you are, Facebook user, but you are absolutely right. God's checklist is greater than ours. But I want to say this to you. When confronted with the opportunity and put in the situation and confronted with an obstacle or a giant, uh, the giant on the inside of you is activated, and every one of you, you've got a giant, or I call him my superhero. And whenever I'm confronted with a situation that is much greater than I am, my purpose activates my Superman. And what that means is the things that I did not know I could do, the places that I did not know I could achieve, um, the messages that I did not understand that I could deliver or even have the wherewithal to deliver them. Pastor K, how do you get up every single morning and do morning manna and give us something new and something fresh and inspire us and encourage us? It's because I don't do it. The Superman that is on the inside, when the opportunity comes, and sometimes it comes at the 11th hour, that purpose begins to speak to that supernatural man that's on the inside, and the supernatural man rises to the occasion, and he's able to do in me what I'm not able to do in and of myself. And so David was not purposed, or he was not prepared to go into battle, because he came with food. He didn't come with a weapon. He did not come with anything that was necessary that we would think to go into battle. As a matter of fact, they understood that he wasn't prepared, because David was like, or they didn't understand his preparation. David, they were like, Saul, why don't you take my weapons? I want you to take my sword, take my shield, and because David was not prepared for battle according to their understanding, but Saul was prepared. See, there's a difference. There are a lot of people in life that will succeed in life because they've made preparations. But when they come to where you are, they ask you, how are you able to do what you do? And because they're thinking about how did you prepare to get to where you are, but they don't understand that you have been purposed to do what you're doing. And your purpose will allow you to do more effectively, because purpose always brings provision, purpose always brings favor, and your purpose will enable you to do what other people struggle to do, you can do with ease and effectiveness. And so David was not prepared, but he was purposed. Saul was purpose. He was a king. He was prepared, but he was not purposed. And so David's purpose brought him to a place that he was able to confront the giant that no one else was able to handle. Somebody out there, I need you to realize, I need you to really seek God and ask God, what have I been purposed to do? Because there is a giant in some point of your community. There is a giant in someone's life that is around you. There is a giant that is preventing the progress of something that we had going on. There is a giant that is stopping us from getting into a particular place of promise. And I've not been purposed to do that. I could prepare to meet the challenge, but you have been purposed to do what someone else is preparing to do, but you will be more effective because of the assignment that God has placed upon your life. All right, so it's important for us to understand, what have I been purposed to do? The next thing that I began to look at in this story is that David, coming in, notice this, even though he was not prepared, he was purposed. He used what he had. This is the biggest story of my life. I'll tell you, when I look at how God had blessed me in the things, partnerships with President Obama and working Tom Joyner and, all of the things and the people, the celebrities and the athletes and working with NBA Entertainment and Will Kirkcaldy and staying in the NBA. He's now Stern is dead, but having an opportunity to live in stay in the NBA commissioner's home in New York City, right up Lexington Avenue. When I look at all of those things, I look at the fact that I didn't have, a Harvard Ivy League education. I used what I had. I was raised in a public school. I used the public school system. I had a single parent mom. We used what we had available. I wasn't able to get the best football shoes that were in at the store, at the Nike factory or whatever it was, but I got what my means could afford me. And many of us discount ourselves because we don't think that we have the absolute best, or we spend our time trying to acquire the absolute best because in order for us to be the best, we have to have the best, right? No. In order for us to be, you've had great experiences, but God, it's only been God. And that's my mother saying that. And we sometimes sit back and we look at what God has done. And I need you to understand, you don't need the best of anything to achieve what you have been purposed to do. You've only got to be willing to use what's in your hand. And so I want to ask you this question: what is in your hand? David did not use Saul's armor. He said, you know what? I can't use what you have. And many times people will try to push you in a particular direction. They will try to say, you need this in order to be effective. You should be doing this. But what you really need to do is you need to use what God gave you and what he put inside of you and what comes to you naturally. Use what you have in your hand and allow your purpose to dictate how it becomes effective. David said, I can't use your armor, Saul. I can't do this according to the traditional method. I can't operate according to what your natural mind would desire for me to do. And in life, my mother always said, why do you never just stick to the plan? Why must you be so difficult? And it's not that I am being difficult, but I have learned in life that I am most effective when I use what God has given me, what he has purposed with me, and I use it to the ability and the effectiveness that I know how to use it. I can't walk in TD Jakes' anointing. I can't walk in the anointing of the former Bishop Pryor. I cannot be who anybody else desires for me to be. Yes, I have been called to greatness, but if I got to deal with the sheep in this moment, and if I've been called to a place that's less than glamorous in this season, then I'm willing to be dedicated and committed to what he's placed in my hand. Because the word tells me that little becomes much when you place it in the master's hands. Oftentimes, people are so concerned about seeing their name in lights that they omit the understanding of, if I'm not faithful where I am, how can God trust me with my next level of ministry? Use what's in your hand. That's absolutely, God will bless the work of your hands. And as I began what I have, and as I began to do that, what I realized is that promotion never comes from the east or the west. I have never been on anybody's list for a promotion. And I tell my mother, I said, you know, it's crazy because I'll show that I have a desire to do these things. And it's almost like people who have the ability to assist me to do what it is that I desire to do, they never do. I'm never on the top of anybody's list. I'm never on anybody, even as a pastor. Nobody calls me to come and speak at their churches, not in Saginaw. You know, nobody calls to part. And I think, and if you allow those things to hinder you, you would never become who God wanted you to be. And so I began to realize if they never invite me to their Bless Me Club, if I'm never a part of, you know, their circle of influence, if I'm never, I understand that I may be isolated, and David was isolated in the field away from his brothers. They didn't include him. They didn't even include him even in thinking that he could be king. But you know what? David was having a relationship and a conversation with God, and God was revealing to him. God was revealing to David in his place of isolation because they didn't invite him to the party. God made a reservation for one. And he continually spoke to David. He said, David, I want you to continually clean up after the sheep. I know it's not beautiful. I know it's not something that's fun. I know that there are greater things. And I know that you have even been anointed. Can you handle things that are beneath your level of anointing? And that's what God began to say to me. Can you handle dealing with this, even though you know that you've been anointed to greater? Many of us will throw in the towel and be like, no, I'm going to fight for what I've been anointed for. But there's something that God is doing in this process. He is preparing. Now, because you've already been purposed, he now goes and he prepares you and he gives you a task and assignment that you don't even realize that what you're doing that seems menial is preparing you for what is the next moment that will bring what God has purposed in your life. And it's funny because David was fighting off lions and bears and things, and he was using a slingshot. That was the weapon that he had. It was inferior to fighting a giant, but it was necessary in him doing what God had called him to do. And the moment that purpose met opportunity, God used what David had in his hands. He wasn't prepared to fight the giants, but he was able to fight the giants because he used what he had already had in his hands. So David went into his sack. He pulled out 5 smooth stones. See how 5 symbolic of grace? God's grace will always show up when it's time for you to confront your giants. And many of you don't realize it, but God's grace is waiting for an opportunity. He's just waiting for you to be willing to fight the giant in your life. You've been running and you've been delaying it and you've been procrastinating because of fear. But God says, reach into your knapsack and pull out what's in your hand, what you have available. And you'll realize that I have already placed 5 stones, 5 symbolic of the grace upon your life to conquer every giant that you face. And I need you to realize that God has an amazing plan in store for your life. That's me, never on the top of others' lists, but still do. And you know what's funny is that the people that would not assign me to the role, the people that would never help me in the process, they're sitting there right there. And this is why this line of that song, I Got That, is so powerful. And Anthony Brown, he says, you just let them watch you do what they cannot do, and you tell them my God won. The same people that could have helped that never did, the same people that I thought should be, inviting you to be a part of it and share and help, were never there to do that. But they will see you ascend to the place that God has called you to do, because purpose calls to the deep things. The purpose that is on the inside of you will give you the ability to open doors that they've been preparing for, but you're just purposed to walk through. And I hope you guys are encouraged on today. I know God blessed me with a voice to go out and tell his people of his love. And at times the giants interfere, but I press through every time. Understand that if you have been purposed for it, there's also a grace that gives you supernatural power to do what other people are preparing to do. So many people are missing out on God's best for their lives because they are trying to be a carbon copy of somebody else. One thing that I am Kareem, and I do that without a shame. I hope you guys are encouraged and blessed by this word. I wanted to express, I wanted to share this with you because God woke me up this morning and I was just thanking him for opportunities, that CEOs and individuals that I've always had a place with them. And it wasn't because of my preparation. I'm operating in places that I didn't even go to school for. So the degrees and the pedigree, my preparation no longer has any meaning whatsoever. But it's what I've been graced to do. And God has equipped me and He wired me for this purpose. So I want you all to make sure that you're walking in the purpose that God has given you, because in that purpose is a grace to do what others are preparing to do. But God is going to make sure that your life is a success. Be encouraged, stay strong, keep the faith, take care of yourselves and each other. God bless you. Grace and peace.